This was a Heath receiver that around 1955 or so, and it went from 550 kilocycles to 30 megacycles, which that includes the broadcast band. And I think it was typically used by novices. Introductory kit. Anyway, the rectifier in this is the 5Y3, and the output tube is 12V6. The oscillator mixers 12BE6, IF amplifiers 12BA6, and the second detector ABC, first audio amp, reflex, BFO, and noise limiter all in one was the 12AV6. It'll operate from 105 to 125 volts, so modern voltages shouldn't affect it. It runs about 40 watts or so. It weighs 12 pounds. And let's look at the controls. Of course, this is the on-off switch here. This is the RF gain with the ABC on and off. The phone standby CW, the selector switch, when you can receive AM, you put it in standby when you're talking on your transmitter, or your CF or your CW band, which if you're working Morse code, your band selector, A, B, C, D. There's 4 bands. The antenna tuner, it's got a little antenna tuner to match the receiving antenna, and then a little band spread, and of course this is the main tuning knob. Okay, on the back you got your ground and your antenna, ground antenna. This is for I think the Heathkit Q multiplier. Let's see, the model maybe in QF-1 there, and there's an accessory plug and your automatic automatic noise limiter, and for your headphones. Should be 4 screws keeping it on, but I've got to get the knobs off. Some of them are screws, some of them are pushed on, and they're not wanting to come off. Yikes. Well now, Albert, why don't you look closer next time? They're all held on by screws. If you recall, on the Zenith, I didn't have a small container, so I went out and I bought some just for such an emergency. It's supposed to be 4 number 632 panhead screws, and there's actually 2, and 1 substitute and 1 missing, so maybe I can get it doesn't have to, as long as I can get some screws, but it'd be nice to get the panheads. Okay, got those out. Finally figured out the knob situation up front. And let's see if we can get this out. Yeah, it's coming out. Let's look inside the cabinet. Somebody's done poked a hole in here. That wasn't me. Nothing significant. I really thought somebody might put their name in here. The dial glass is glued in, and a little bit of dirt and some torn fabric here, which I think we can probably just glue back. Let's take a look at the chassis. All right, looking down on the chassis, we can see that this area in here, a lot of corrosion. Something has happened here over the past. This looks like a replacement potentiometer. and not really sure what happened in this area, but it's down to bare metal. This would look like it was copper clad at one point, copper plated. Look like this is, let me zoom in real quick. I want you to know that our cameraman has been nominated at the Cannes Film Festival as outstanding. So we'll be watching how that develops. That'll probably be on an online series, but I don't think they'll hold the Cannes Film Festival this year due to the virus. But this right here looks like a spring. That's actually a shield over this coming into the potentiometer. Anyway, let's go over the tube. I think we've already talked about it. This is the 6V6, the 12AV6, the 12BA6, and of course the rectifier, and then up front is the 12BE6. This is for all the alignment of the different bands, and as you can see, it probably needs a lot of cleaning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull these tubes, and then I am going to check them, clean them, set them aside. We know it works, so we just want to see the status of it and see if we have any weak tubes. Probably won't replace them, but we'll, we're here. Let's do it. First thing I did, guess what I did? I put a little bit of cardboard over the speaker. Since it's on the end, guess what happens? Bingo! A thumb will go right through it. Alright, low-hanging fruit. The grommet that was in here holding the light bulb was broken and it was loose. So I just replaced that. Also, if you'll look, I'm going to do something to arrest this disease, this rust or this corrosion. Cleaned it up. I've cleaned the chassis up. I just cleaned it. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I've put a little navel jelly. I've sanded it. Put a little navel jelly on here, and going to stop this rust in its place. Then I'm going to clear coat this part of it just to stop it. It's not going to look pretty, but I just want to stop this rust and corrosion. I've got this clear coated to it's already dry because I couldn't bring it in the house, as you all know, because of my fireplace. But I've got this encapsulated. I neutralized it and converted it, and now I've got it covered. So not that pretty, but I've stopped that. Let's go underneath and see what we find. Finally, under the hood, while I was spray painting the clear coat, I hit this switch and this selector switch with some deoxit and worked it back and forth several times while I was there, multitasking. Ceramic disc capacitors. Could cause microphonics, and the capacitance does change with temperature, but all in all, they're fairly reliable. So I don't think we're going to have to do anything. Now look, this is the well, this jumped out and grabbed me. This is the ground that or the shield that went to the volume control, and all it is like a spring. So but right here is the electrolytics, and as you can see, it's the original. So I think I'm going to go ahead and clip this out and maybe come up with a terminal strip here and see if we can't replace those and just leave that there. Whoever built this, I think was afraid they was going to run out of wire, because some of these wires are just stretched so tight. Now, I understand routing and everything like that, but when you're doing the dial lights, I mean, they're just like, they're straight. So let's see if we can't come up with some way to put a couple of 22 microfarad capacitors in here. All right, I found this terminal strip, and if we remove this resistor, this power resistor that goes across here, then we can mount and swing this on further up this way, and should have plenty of room to mount the filter caps and bring these wires over to these terminals. Trying to remove this wire here. Look how tight this thing is all the way down here. I mean, it's just, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it loose from this end and reroute a new wire. May end up replacing some of it, but I mean, some of these are just, look how tight. There's no sense in that. I mean, yeah, I don't need to go all over the chassis with it, but I mean, minimum wire there. I've replaced those 3 taut wires with some more. I've put our terminal strip in here. None of them are grounded. I could probably leave this as the common, but I'm going to go ahead and move this wire to this post, or maybe to the center post, and then have the, yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll move this to the center post and have that the common for the capacitor. I've got to be careful. That is very close to that tab there. I may have to swing this back just a little bit to get it away from there. But I'll move that to the center, and that'll be our common. That'll be the negative to both of our 22 microfarad capacitors. And then all these wires, these 3 wires and one end of the resistor will go on here, and the other end of the resistor will go here, and then these 2 wires will go to this side. So let's do that, finish that up. Okay, got the filter caps in with the terminal strip. It didn't turn out as pretty as I'd like for it to, but put the power resistor underneath there, and so we're ready to put the tubes in and try it. So let's do it. Okay, let's turn down. I got the variac down. We'll watch it. Power's on. Everything's hooked up. We'll start coming up in power. There's about 30 volts or so. Current is looking like we're getting a little illumination. Just a few milliamps. It's going up to about 60 or so. We're getting about 150 milliamps. A little bit more brightness. Let it sit there for a second or two, and then we'll come on up to about 75. I've still got the speaker cover on it, so it may be a little garbled or muffled. About 200 milliamps. Hang on, let's see if we can. As you can tell in the last video, I ended it fairly abruptly because I realized something was not correct. So I've come in here and I've removed the capacitors, the filters, and I'm going to tell on myself. I made some assumptions. I assumed that that was floating and that was the common. That was not the common, okay? If I had read the instructions and looked on the can itself, this is a 3-gang capacitor, okay? This lead goes to the output in the cathode, and it's a 20 microfarad, but it's a low voltage, 25 volts. And then the other two are the 20 microfarads at a higher voltage for the filter. So I had all of the negative going to the cathode. I don't think I messed anything up, but what we're going to end up doing is putting all 3 of those to ground, and then having one to here, and one to there. So let's try that and see if it sounds any better. I think I've got the problem corrected. It just didn't sound right, did it? And so I pulled the plug and got to double checking, and I thought we had a problem with the schematic, because, and this is my mistake, if you'll see these 2 filter capacitors that's got the 2.7K resistor across them, which are this one and this one here, the negatives go to ground. Well, if I had used my head, the other terminal on that can capacitor came over to here and tied, let's see if I can get you right here, and tied to this point, and then went to ground through this 470 ohm resistor. Duh, that's the cathode bypass capacitor up here, and that resistor, 1 watt resistor on pin 8, which that's where that's at. It never struck me. I got to thinking that the ground was floating through that 470 ohm resistor. I got totally confused by that. So anyway, I think I got it straightened out. All 3 of these capacitors go to ground, the negatives do, and then one goes, the one in the center bypasses this cathode resistor on the output tube down here, and then the other one goes to, one of them is this one, and then one of them is this one. So let's flip it over and fire it up and see if it's a little bit better this time. Keep your fingers crossed, guys. Got the power, the variac all the way down, and let's bring it back up. Got the antenna connected, very optimistic, I guess. Bringing it up. Current looks good. We're going up to 50 volts. Oh yeah, we're down 100 milliamps or so. We're getting some dial lamps. We're coming on up. Let's say about 100 volts. Let's see if it'll warm up. Starting to get a little volume. Up to full voltage. We're just shy of 400 milliamps, which is about 390 milliamps. Alright, I had it on CW without the knobs and everything. That might make a little difference. Alright, I don't hear any hum now. Had me worried again there. Yeah, it's operator error. Of course, this is not made for playing music, I wouldn't say, even though it's got a broadcast band on it. See if we can tune the antenna. We can a little bit. I believe if I had that cover off, it'd sound a whole lot better. See if we can go to shortwave. Well, I think we got the hum out of it. I think really wasn't that noticeable to start with, but we can put this all back together. But the BFO was kicking in on that CW, and that's the reason it was such a problem there. Alright, let's button it back up and call it quits. Alright, what I did is I took a small brush and I took some of this Elmer's clear glue, and I took a screwdriver from behind and put the pieces back in place, and then just applied glue over the top of it. I didn't use the paper filter or anything like that. We're just patching it with the glue since it was such a small tear. Okay, got it all fastened up, ready to rock and roll now. Like I said, this was just something to pass the time. Like, this is not a really great receiver or anything like that. I just felt like we needed to change the filter caps and whatever else we could run into. So you saw we did some minor repairs, and I'll put it back down in my shop and listen to it when I'm down to shop this summer. Just an update on the virus here in Tennessee. Remember, I think on the first video this morning, as of yesterday, we had 154 cases confirmed, total positives. Now it's 228. They update about 3 p.m. here every day. The biggest number is in Davidson County, which is Nashville. It's now to 101. And the adjacent county, Williamson, is 35. And then the ones that are out of Tennessee is 40. Now, don't know. And here's the surprising thing. The majority of those cases are between the ages of 21 and 30. Then the next group is the 31 to 40. Then the next group is the 41 to 50. And then the 51 to 60. And then the 61 to 70. And then the 71 to 80. And then the 11 to 20-year-old is next as far as the number of cases. And of course there's 3 that's from 0 to 10, and then over 80 there's 4 cases. So it looks like the working people, the ones that are having to get out, and doing things, or maybe they think they're bulletproof. You know, I don't know. I know that there's some articles out there saying that, hey, look, you need to social distance yourself. You need to, you know, kind of stay in for the next couple of weeks or so. But that's the latest numbers, and I hope you enjoyed this. This is something just to break the monotony. I got the grill cloth. I've got to put that in, and it's still raining, so I don't know if I'm gonna get to do the cabinet or not. But anyway, probably made this video a lot longer. I guess I can make it shorter if I cut my boo-boo out, but I'm going to leave it in there. So, you guys stay safe out there, and if you don't have to go out, don't, and we'll ride this thing out. So, from Larry, from the hills of Tennessee, thanks for watching.